Okay, folks, listen. In the past, I did a few videos about the movie Back to the Future and how it connects to the Seattle Space Needle and Elvis. And in this video, I am not going to show you all those things. I'm just going to show you a few of the most important things, and that's it. Okay, I'm not going to get into too much detail. So let's get started. So in the movie, there's a character called Biff Tannen. And this is the bad guy. And this Biff Tannen guy, he's based off of Donald Trump. Off Donald Trump. That's what the guy who made this movie said, that this character is based off of Donald Trump. Let's look at this pee-pee face. He's got the letters pee-pee right here. Anyway, notice he's got sideburns. You see the long sideburns? Because I told you Elvis had long sideburns too. Because I told you Elvis and Trump are the devil twins.
At the calculator moment, you start off from down the street, driving directly toward the cable, accelerating to 88 miles per hour.
So here he is explaining how he's going to go into the future. You know, how he's going to make it possible. And of course, it has something to do with going 88 miles per hour, because the 88 is super important. Because I told you Trump gets his head wound on 8/4, Obama's birthday. Trump gets his head wound and he survives. And most likely he somehow manifests on August 8th. When I say manifest, I mean he comes out of his coma or something on 8/8. And the word Trump equals 88. Okay?
Meanwhile, we've outfitted the time vehicle with this big pole and hook, which runs directly into the flux capacitor.
So here's an important piece of the puzzle. You see, he pointed at this thing called the flux capacitor, or whatever the hell, and look at what this thing looks like. So the car is a DeLorean, and that's where this flux capacitor is on the car. You see, it's right there. And look, it says out of time. Because that's right. The end is near. Anyway, it's a DeLorean time machine. Basically, right? And here's a close-up. Look at what this looks like. It looks like the top of the Space Needle. You see? And here's a view from the top of this flux capacitor, the Back to the Future car. And here's the top of the Space Needle, you see? Anyway, I'm just saying it looks like the Space Needle, all right? Now, this is the very first scene, basically, in the Back to the Future movie. You see Michael J. Fox, he picks up a guitar and a guitar pick, and he stands in front of this giant speaker. And he puts it at full blast, okay, before he plays a note on the guitar. And look what happens, okay? See, it blows a hole in the speaker, right? It explodes. And what does the top of that, what does that speaker look like? It looks like the top of the Space Needle, you understand? Because they're going to blow it up or destroy it. I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to happen to it on June 11th. And somehow Elvis manifests. And that's what the guitar was. He had the guitar and the pick in his hand. And basically it's just representing Elvis when Michael J. Fox had the guitar in his hand. Basically, they're saying that Elvis shoots through the Space Needle, the eye of the needle. Do you understand? Because Elvis is the camel that shoots through the eye of the needle. So in the movie, they show Michael J. Fox riding a hoverboard. Okay, it's just like a skateboard without wheels, and it was flying on its own. It's called a hoverboard. And the reason I'm showing you this, because like I said, there's things that connect to Trump, and then there's things that connect to Seattle and Elvis. Now look at this. First of all, it says Mattel right here. And it's almost like the word Seattle. The only difference is there's no M or, Seattle's S-E and this is M. But anyway, it's close to Seattle. But here's what's important, okay, the word hover and the word board, okay, because if you change the letters to broad, because you can make the same, another word from the same thing right here, from these letters. So board can be broad. See, the Seattle Space Needle is at 400 Broad Street, okay? And broad is the way that leads to destruction. Do you understand? But anyway, broad is the same as board, same letters, like hoverboard. Now I'm going to show you why hover is important. Now put your thinking caps on, because this is going to be a little bit difficult to understand, but it's very important that you get this information. So when doing just simple, whatever what is called this type of gematria, but look, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and so on until you get to Z, which is 26. Okay? Now, when someone says, what is the backwards numbers? Backwards, now the Z, which was the 26th letter forward, now Z is 1 and A is 26. So that's all basically you're doing. Okay? Now, the name Elvis, this is the forwards number. Okay? E is the 5th letter of the alphabet. L is the 12th letter. V is the 22nd letter. I is the 9th letter. S is the 19th letter for the word Elvis. Okay? Now, when you go backwards, the word Elvis, these are the letters, and this is what it would equal. Because see, E is the 5th letter, but backwards, V is the 5th letter. So V equals 5. The L backwards is O, which would be the 12th letter. V would be E, 20. It would equal 22, and so on. I is the 9th letter. Backwards, it's R. Now the R is 9. S is 19. Backwards, it'd be the H. H is 19. Okay. So now, what is the only word you can make with the backwards letters of Elvis? This is what Elvis forward. This is Elvis backwards. So pay attention. These are the only letters. There's only one word you can make with these letters. The word hover. You see that? Can you believe that? Elvis, the only word you can make with Elvis's letters backwards is hover. And why is this so important? Because see, in Genesis, the first book of the Bible, it says how God, the Spirit of God, hovered over the waters. You see that? And that's what's going to happen in Seattle. And check out this weird scene in the movie Back to the Future. Look, it looks like the top of the Space Needle, that sign, Texaco right there. And then look in the background. There's this shark hologram coming out. What a trippy scene right there. And look at what's emphasized here. Look at this. The number 19. And the C19 sickness is going around. And look at what's right above the 19 is the W and S. Washington, Seattle. Seattle, Washington. And I told you that Lucifer lost his S equals 19 crown. And I told you that during Trump's presidency, they did a show called, there's a TV series called Station 19. And it's about firefighters based in Seattle. Okay? Anyway, basically what I'm saying is the shark is representing Elvis. Who knows? It might be a hologram we see of Elvis. We don't know what it's going to be on June 11th in Seattle, involving the Seattle Space Needle. So I'm about to play you a clip of this guy right here, whose name is Robert Gale. He was the co-writer of Back to the Future with Robert Zemeckis. Okay, now watch what this guy says about Elvis. and ask yourself, why is he mentioning Elvis? So like I said, the guy's name is Bob Gale. Okay, here we go with the interview.
Correct. In part two, when Biff owns a casino and needs to put his name and his picture on everything, one of the inspirations for that was Mr. Trump.
So, some fans believe that Back to the Future predicted the 9/11 attacks. Any truth to that, Bob?
Of course!
So yes, during the movie, they had this scene where they showed the Twin Pines Mall sign, and it says 116. See, it's the 11/6/6/11, because I told you Elvis appears on 6/11 in Seattle. And they were saying when you turn the sign upside down, it says 9/11, right? And look, it kind of would be WA if you turn the A back this way. It'd be WA is Washington. But anyway, forget about that. The significance of the twin is, because Elvis and Trump are the devil twins, like I said, and the fact that it says 6/11, and then they did 9/11 in 2001, so it's a twin. What's going to happen is the twin events. The next one is June 11th in Seattle, Washington. Now let's listen to what this guy says about Elvis.
Two, when Biff owns a casino and needs to put his name and his picture on everything, one of the inspirations for that was Mr. Trump.
So, some fans believe that Back to the Future predicted the 9/11 attacks. Any truth to that, Bob?
Of course! Of course! We predicted everything. We predicted the assassination of John F. Kennedy years after.
That's another one. That's another one that's here.
Yeah, we predicted Elvis's death and his resurrection, which hasn't happened yet, but it will. No, we predicted Elvis's death and his resurrection, which hasn't happened yet, but it will.
Did you hear what this heathen, this Satanist said? I mean, can you imagine? First of all, it's bad enough that he said that they predicted Elvis's death, which is, ridiculous because the movie came out after Elvis's death. But the fact that they said about his resurrection.
Yeah, we predicted Elvis's death and his resurrection, which hasn't happened yet, but it will. No, we predicted Elvis's death and his resurrection, which hasn't happened yet, but it will. We predicted Elvis's death and his resurrection, which hasn't happened yet, but it will.
Okay, folks, like I said, I want to make sure you know my two predictions, okay? So Trump gets his head wound on August 4th. He survives the head wound. And like I say, he makes a miraculous recovery. That happens on August 4th, his head wound, and most likely in Ohio. And August 4th is also Obama's birthday. Anyway, and Elvis, somehow he manifests his name, his image, having to do with Seattle and the Space Needle on June 11th, 6/11, which is the upside down 9/11. Elvis in Seattle. Okay? Those are my two predictions. End of video.